My name is Tenina Reeves. My topic is Leading Against the Grain, Critical Leadership Development for Preventing Teacher Burnout. I'm currently a student at Marymount University and I'm applying to serve as a presenter for the International Conference on Teaching and Educational Science on this upcoming March 2026 in Honolulu, Hawaii. Now, the contents of my presentation consist of an overview, introduction, and identification of gaps in research, key themes in literature, data sources, recommendation for future research, and a conclusion. Now, my research question is, how can educational leaders implement equity-centered leadership to reduce teacher burnout in urban K-12 schools? I can tell you that I once was that burnout teacher. I felt like I didn't have the emotional support that I needed in order to be an effective and efficient teacher for my scholars. Some objectives that I want to examine are, how can leadership promote sustainability for teachers? How can we focus on supervision and preparation strategies? And so that's preparing our leaders as well as our teachers. And then how can we analyze embedding SEL strategies for not only teachers, but also for students? Then I also want to look at how are teachers feeling in regards to the teacher burnout rates, and how can we link equity and sustainability? Those are not isolated issues, but those are concerns that we need to work together in order to solve an issue. And then, what is a systematic issue as it relates to transformative leadership? So Nelson Mandela left us with a quote that says, "It is better to lead from behind and to put others in front, especially when you celebrate the victory. When nice things occur, you take the front line when there is danger, and people appreciate your leadership." Now, a little bit about my background. There are two persistent challenges, and the one is that of inequity, one is that of race, linguistics, and an economic challenge. The other is that of teachers feeling burned out. And so teachers expressing that they are feeling exhausted, there's a lack of support, and there's an insurmountable amount of work. And this is coming from leadership not having the opportunity to focus primarily on the holistic being of the teacher, not being able to focus on their well-being, but primarily focusing on compliance, test scores, and operations. As a result, schools are struggling with meeting the needs of teachers being able to support students in diverse populations. Now, statistics say that 44% of educators have reported feeling burned out, and 55% have considered leaving the profession, while 90% say that this is a critical issue. Some gaps in the research. There are only a few studies that link equity-centered supervision with teacher sustainability. Leadership preparation programs often neglect race as it relates to equitable frameworks. Some SEL integrations focus on students, but not all staff and leaderships adapt these systems. And there are no long-term studies as it relates to novice teachers and seasoned teachers as we talk about the effects of SEL strategies as it relates to burnout. So some key themes in my literature. Number one, I want to focus on equity-oriented teacher preparation strategies. And for that, it means just centering around justice. And what does that look like? And how do we include everyone? How are we an inclusive environment for all? How do we make all feel safe and welcome? Number two, social emotional learning and well-being. How are we making sure that individuals have the tools that they need so that they can tap into being in a space where they are able to be socially available and emotionally available. Systematic leadership and equity-driven focuses and reforms. And so how are we seeking to solve and influence a structure and relationships and dynamics, and reframing burnout as an organization issue. So it's not about the individual, but it's about how can we reframe the organization And adaptive leadership focuses on helping the organization and the people navigate the complex problems. And so some of my data sources are from peer reviews, case studies, dissertations, and leadership frameworks focusing on SAIL models. My recommendations are to continue to explore long-term as it relates to the responsiveness of culture. So what are the effects of culture on burnout? How do we compare the effects of new teachers versus veteran teachers and their effects? What are the effects of race, language, and years of service on burnout? And then what are the effects of SEL strategies and how are leaders helping to prepare our new teachers, even novice teachers, in regards to teacher preparation programs? And some key takeaways. Equity and teacher sustainability are not just independent of each other. These are not independent challenges, but these are challenges that we need to work together, not in isolation, to solve the teacher burnout crises. And then responsive leadership prepares and supports educators. SEL and distributed leaderships do enhance school culture resilience. Burnout must be addressed as a system and it is not an individual issue. And educational leaders are a part of this in order to make sure that we do have thriving schools. Thank you so much for your time and your attention.